So, if you're a student, a teacher, a writer, chances are you've come across an AI detection tool. And you've probably asked yourself, how do these things actually work? And more importantly, can we really trust them? Well, let's get into it.
Let's just kick things off with the biggest question right out of the gate. You take a piece of text, you feed it into one of these detectors. Can that machine prove, without a shadow of a doubt, who or what wrote it?
And the answer, which honestly might surprise you, is a flat no. It can't. An AI detector can't prove anything at all. All it's really doing is making a very, very educated guess. It's all about probability. And that idea, well, it forces us to completely reframe how we think about this technology. We have to shift our mindset away from looking for some kind of absolute proof and instead start thinking in terms of probability.
So, this is the crucial takeaway. If you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, make it this little mantra. Probability, not proof. These tools are designed to estimate the likelihood that text was written by an AI, all based on patterns. They do not and they absolutely cannot give you 100% certainty.
Okay, so how does it make that guess? Well, it all comes down to patterns. It's about spotting the subtle, statistical fingerprints that tend to separate our human way of writing from the way an AI generates text. So, how does a machine learn to spot that difference? Well, you feed it a mountain of data, millions of examples of human writing and millions of examples of AI writing. Over time, the model just gets really, really good at picking up on those tiny statistical clues. For instance, AI text often has this very uniform feel to it, predictable word choices, neat sentence structures, kind of like perfectly stacked blocks. Human writing? Oh, it's way messier. It's creative, it's unpredictable, much more varied.
And this whole pattern analysis thing really boils down to two key signals: perplexity and burstiness. Now, I know they sound super technical, but trust me, the ideas behind them are actually pretty straightforward.
First up, perplexity. This is really just a fancy way of measuring how predictable or maybe how surprising a piece of text is. See, AI models are trained to pick the most logical, most probable next word over and over again. That makes their writing super smooth, but also kind of predictable. It has low perplexity. We humans, on the other hand, we're a bit more random. We make weird word choices that an AI wouldn't, and that gives our writing higher perplexity. It's more surprising.
And the second key signal is burstiness. This is all about the rhythm and flow of the writing. Just think about how you write. You probably have some long, winding, complex sentences, right? But then you'll follow them up with short, punchy ones. That up and down variation, that's burstiness. AI, on the other hand, tends to be much more even-keeled. The sentences often have a similar length and structure, which gives it a more uniform rhythm. Now, beyond those two big ones, detectors are also looking at a bunch of other stylistic fingerprints. Things like vocabulary diversity. Is the text just using the same handful of words again and again? Does it use any rare or unusual words? Or does it stick to very safe, very neutral, common phrasing, which a lot of AI models tend to do?
So the detector takes all of this in, the perplexity, the burstiness, all those little stylistic quirks, and it feeds them into its brain, its classifier model. And what comes out isn't a simple human or AI. No, it's a probability score. It's a number. Something like this: an 85% chance this was AI generated.
And that probability score, that brings us to a really, really critical point: the limitations of this tech, and exactly why these results can never be treated as cold, hard evidence. This is why you'll hear the same advice from pretty much everyone, from universities to, get this, even the people who make the tools. They all say that a score is just an indicator. It's a sign that maybe you should take a closer look, but it is not, on its own, evidence of anything.
So that leads to a pretty natural question, right? If it's not always reliable, in what specific situations is it most likely to mess up?
Well, these tools are actually known to produce false positives, that is, flagging human writing as AI in a few key scenarios. For example, the writing of non-native English speakers can sometimes get flagged, maybe because it follows grammatical rules a bit more rigidly. Same thing goes for really formal or structured writing like a scientific paper that can have low perplexity just by its nature. And believe it or not, even really short, simple answers can easily be misidentified.
You know, to really understand these tools, it's just as important to know what they don't do. So let's quickly bust a couple of really common myths.
Okay, myth number one. There's this common idea that the tool is checking your text against some gigantic secret database of everything ever written by an AI. That is completely false. No database like that even exists. And myth number 2. The tool has no idea where the text came from. It cannot trace it back to ChatGPT or Gemini or any specific AI model. It is completely blind to the source.
So, if it's not doing all that stuff, what is it doing? Let's just bring it back to the simple fact it is purely and only making a prediction based on the statistical patterns it finds in the text itself. That's it. That's the whole game.
You know, probably the best way to think about an AI detector is to use this simple analogy. Picture an experienced teacher, someone who's read thousands of student essays over their career. They can get a kind of gut feeling when an essay just feels a little off, a little too perfect, or maybe machine-like. They can guess, but they could never prove it based on that feeling alone. Well, an AI detector is basically just doing that same thing, but at a massive scale, and it's using math instead of a gut feeling.
Which brings us full circle, right back to where we started, but hopefully with a whole new perspective. We now know these powerful tools don't give us proof. They just give us a probability, a guess. And that leaves us with one final and really crucial question we all need to think about. If the tool only guesses, how should we as students, as teachers, as creators treat its verdict?